Shalom, shalom. This week's parsha is Parshat Acharei Mot. And we're told that this is Acharei Mot, after the deaths of Aharon's two sons, that God spoke to Moshe to tell him to speak to Aharon and tell him that he shouldn't enter the sanctuary at all times. And it says he should do this lest he not die. And then there's instructions on what he should do before he is able to enter, and we talk about the Yom Kippur services. And I think this is very interesting, and a commentary also on human psyche and how we need to interact with people so they can go about their lives in a healthy manner after they've gone through a tragedy that could negatively affect them forever, and they can develop phobias. And I think that we're told that this occurrence and that happened right after the deaths of Nadav and Avihu, that God was telling Moshe to instruct Aharon right away and tell him what he should do lest he not die. It's interesting because in the Torah a lot of times we're told, if you do this, or if you don't do this, lest you die. And here the language is different. It says so that you not die, so that he should live. And I think what happened is we're told that the sons of Aharon died when they tried to get close to God. They did it in a way that was not instructed, that was not permitted. And in their coming close to God, they overstepped a boundary that they weren't supposed to, and God took them. And perhaps the fear for their father, who saw their intense desire to be close to God and their devotion and their desire to do things and work in this brand new sanctuary and how it's going to operate, maybe he thought, what am I going to do? Anything I do, I'm subject to death in this work of coming close to God. It's a very scary, tricky position that he's in, and I can't imagine that he didn't have a fear after that. And I think that God telling Moshe to approach him right away, and it tells him twice to give him instructions, and in those instructions it says so that he not die. And perhaps this is addressing Aaron's fear, seeing that his sons died in this manner. And so he gets very explicit instructions on what to do and what not to do from God himself and from his brother, who knows how to speak to him in a comforting way that appeals to Aharon, and how he needs to be spoken to and what he needs to hear. So God gives him that ability and tells him to tell Aharon these things. And I think that this is so crucial when we're interacting with people that have just gone through something that's a trauma, is to interact with them and to discuss how to go about life in a normal way and do things that perhaps their loved ones did and had a horrible outcome, but how to do things in a different way, in a more secure way, in a precautionary way, and to get back on the horse, so to speak, and not let it fester and get worse and worse. So this is, I think, what God was doing with Aharon, and getting him back into the service right away, and showing him that it's not the fact that they were in the sanctuary and trying to get close to God. All of that is wonderful, but the reason why their lives were taken is because they did things that were against God's will. They weren't commanded. There were things they weren't supposed to do, and therein lie the problem. Not the sanctuary, not the holy spot, not to trying to get close to God. That wasn't it. And to try and get him focused on the way to go and what exactly it is, and to still maintain that closeness to God, because a lot of times we see and we fear so horribly when people we know that are good people and trying to do the right thing and sometimes things happen, but that doesn't mean we should stop doing those things. That will not secure our safety. Just have to do the best we can and try and take all the precautionary steps and do everything in the safest way possible and go on with our lives. And hopefully all will be well. Shabbat Shalom.